As we finally emerge from the fog of the last few years, we face the reality that we need to create a new normal, one that allows us to navigate a whole new way of experiencing life and all that entails, personally and professionally. We've experienced life-altering disruptions in many areas of our lives that we did not have the tools to navigate. As a result, many of us are experiencing significant physical, mental, and emotional disruptions. The energy required to manage daily responsibilities can leave us depleted and unable to operate at our highest level. What can we do to create the normalcy we seek? I'm Sonja Pemberton, and this is my Oxford Talk. We've all been on a journey, consciously and unconsciously. I can only describe my experience as a regeneration, a powerful rebirth of every aspect of my being. There were many days when I longed for what I had known as normalcy. On other days, a breakthrough would occur, and the excitement of that revelation felt so freeing and promising. In hindsight, this time was like getting on a roller coaster, knowing there would be ups and downs and still holding on to a sense of anticipation of how it would all unfold. The experience, both empowering and challenging, has led to a powerful paradigm shift in how I approach life. As a brain-based coach and leader, I was trained to pose questions to elicit new insights and facilitate the ability to consider additional perspectives when faced with difficult situations. One of the questions I asked myself was, what is this here to teach me? The impact of this simple but powerful question begins the journey to discovering a unique truth in any situation. The answer to this question was a strong inclination to use my expertise to work specifically with individuals who, like me, felt that there was something more they needed to share with the world. Through working with leaders from startups to Fortune 100 companies, I knew many who sought to explore what else was possible. Despite the success they had already attained, they felt there were more to experience or become in their lifetime. Some changes would be minor, and others would be significant life disruptions. I was fascinated by the neuroscience research that suggests at least 90% of our actions are controlled by our unconscious mind, from old patterns stored from similar encounters in our past. Whenever you're faced with a situation, it will scan that stored data from a previous experience to address the current situation. Although this happens beneath our conscious awareness, it influences our decisions and behaviors, increasing the importance of being aware of our thoughts and our feelings, especially since we have as many as 60,000 or more thoughts a day. As human beings, we operate from three dimensions: the cognitive, our thoughts; the affective, our feelings; and the behavioral, our actions. Whenever an individual encounters a situation, each of these dimensions is involved in how we resolve our issue. Integrating these dimensions is the paradigm shift we need to affect any behavioral change that will be sustainable and scalable, personally and professionally. Even more powerful is having in-the-moment awareness, prompting yet another question. What will have the greatest impact? The answer I received was surprising. As I listed all the possibilities that came to me and considered each one, what felt most aligned was developing a new framework for deep introspective journeys and sustainable change. It was not the answer I was expecting, but in hindsight, it was the right next step. I've worked in organizational development for over 20 years and knew that most training programs were not designed for sustainable results. Having spent the last 6 years in the field of neuroleadership, I learned a lot more about how the brain works and how to create sustainable, scalable behavioral change. I knew transformative change must begin at the individual level, at the core of our being, that's hidden beneath the surface and where we discover what no longer serves us. As I worked on the framework, I began to understand it was bigger than finding another state of superficial normalcy, and new social constructs. It was to disrupt and to challenge normalcy. It was for a total transformation, one that required a journey to self-actualization. I also realized life as I knew it had to change. And some of the changes required questioning personal and professional situations and choices. I was no longer willing to adhere to outdated constructs that did not feel aligned with who I was becoming and what I desired for myself. Have you ever been in a place where you felt something so strongly you couldn't ignore it? Using my background in adult development theory and neuroscience, I developed a neuroconscious framework that integrates the 3 human dimensions in which humans operate. I decided the first step in the framework was learning to disrupt this innate inclination to allow our subconscious to control our behaviors. This entailed increasing self-awareness to recognize and to differentiate when we operate from our conscious or subconscious. And equally important is the ability to be cognizant of our thoughts and our feelings in the moment. When I introduced the neuroconscious framework, many experienced a phenomenon within the affective dimension. They described it as a sensation or an inner knowing that would prompt them to do or not to do something. I, too, had experienced this inner knowing over the years. My female ancestors told me they are feelings or sensations that indicate you are on the cusp of a major turning point in your life. I also knew that things turned out well whenever I followed these promptings, and I often suffered an unpleasant consequence on the few occasions I did not. What if there was an untapped, powerful dimension that would allow us to navigate any situation we face in life with more grace, ease, and flow? Intrigued by the realization that so many were experiencing this phenomenon, and given my experience with it, I focused on designing a process to intentionally utilize this phenomenon. Through the case study, I learned the phenomenon is much like a muscle. To optimize and leverage it, you must strengthen it. What was also abundantly clear was this was more than an occasional occurrence. The phenomenon is an untapped, powerful 4th human dimension and is readily available to each of us. Leveraging the power of the neuroconscious, we can create an individualized blueprint to understand the role of the conscious and unconscious brain in our day-to-day lives, the human dimensions that drive our behavior and self-awareness, the brain states and how they impact our brain energy, and how to master this dimension to optimize our overall well-being. It will change how you make decisions in your life. It will impact your relationships and interactions with loved ones, friends, and colleagues. It will change how organizations design critical initiatives for inclusion and belonging, leadership development, and employee engagement, impacting attraction and retention. It will allow us to create paradigms for a new, intentionally conscious normal. And the ripple effect will have a global impact. This is the paradigm shift required for sustainable and scalable behavioral change, needed for individuals, organizational, and societal change. Learning to leverage this powerful untapped dimension of our neuroconscious is our opportunity to rebuild communities and organizations that will thrive worldwide.